What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 264 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. If you remember, like 2 months ago, I did a week of Hellboy-related books. It was, I think, 7 or 8 Hellboy books, and then a couple of Abe Sapien books, and then a Lobster Johnson book. And for the most part, I really enjoyed all of those books, a lot more than I did the last time I had read through them. And so I mentioned that I was going to order some more Hellboy books, and I would be talking about more Hellboy stuff on down the line. The reason that it took me so long to do that was because I ordered several all at one time, and one of them never arrived at my house. I waited the requisite number of days that you're supposed to wait before you officially file a complaint, and then I looked and I was able to find out that they brought the book to my house at one point, and nobody was home, and apparently I was supposed to sign for the book, which I think that's really stupid because it's a book. It's not like it's a computer or something just vitally important or anything like that, but apparently because I wasn't there to sign for it, they took it back to the post office. They didn't leave me a note on the door saying, hey, you need to come and sign for this, so I didn't know that they were holding my book for ransom. So finally, I was able to get the book. Fortunately, they didn't send it back to the seller or anything like that. So that's why it took so long. And then by the time I did get all of the books that I had ordered, I had already planned pretty far in advance. So it wasn't until today that I was able to get around to doing all these other Hellboy books that I ordered that I haven't talked about yet. So today, I want to talk to you about Hellboy and the BPRD, 1952. The story here is by Mike Mignola and John Arcudi, and the art is by Alex Maleev. This is a 5-issue miniseries that shows Hellboy's first mission with the BPRD, or at least that's how this book was sold. I seem to remember some of the volumes that were kind of anthology-ish volumes that would show some of Hellboy's smaller adventures that weren't part of a big, huge miniseries. It seems to me that we got to see him doing some adventures in the 40s, like just a year or two after Professor Broom found him. So I don't know how this fits in the overall continuity of Hellboy, but this is being sold as Hellboy's first official adventure with the BPRD, and I like it quite a bit. One thing that I really like about this is that this is more about Hellboy as a character than it is the overall mythology stuff that a lot of times the Hellboy books will focus on. There is a little bit of Hellboy mythology there, but it doesn't focus on the real world mythology nearly as much as some of the other Hellboy books do. A lot of times Mignola would say, okay, I really like Irish mythology, so we're going to take a couple of characters and stories from Irish mythology, and we're going to mix in a little bit of Russian mythology, a little bit of Judeo-Christian mythology. We're going to throw it all in a blender, and then we're going to put Hellboy in the middle of it. And it felt to me the biggest flaw that I've had with this series when I was reading it a couple months ago was that Mignola and whoever his partners in crime were, for example, John Arcudi and Alex Maleev here, it felt to me like they were more interested in that aspect of the series than they were focusing on the characters and what made them interesting and unique. In this book, I really like that Hellboy feels very different than he does when you go and read Wake the Devil, which I think is the first volume. It's the first or second. I think Seed of Destruction might be the first one. But if you go and read volumes 1 and 2 of Hellboy, Hellboy feels like a veteran who's been at this for a while. But then if you read this, he feels like a rookie kid who is a little bit in over his head. And it's kind of cool getting to see him go from that to being just a little bit more like the Hellboy of the present day. At the same time, you can still tell that he has a long way to go and that he's not quite there yet. I like that quite a bit. Now, we do get a little bit of the Hellboy mythology, which is to say what makes Hellboy important in the apocalypse or the end of the world, what kind of part he's going to play. This touches on some of that a little bit, and I like all of that here. What I like about this particular story is that it stands alone as a story, but it touches on some of the overall mythos stuff concerning Hellboy. For example, we are told that he is going to have some part to play in the destruction of the world, but there's this one guy, he seems to be some kind of mystic man in, I want to say Portugal, which is where most of this story takes place. He mentions that yes, he is going to be involved in the end of this world, but he is also going to be a savior for the world to come. And I really like that, and that ties in thematically with the bad guy and his scheme, where he talks about how he's not going to bring about a new world. he is going to try and salvage the world that we have. So it's really strange and interesting that the bad guy of this piece, in theory, doesn't want to destroy the world, and Hellboy is the good guy, and he definitely acts like a good guy. He's not a bad person, but then we are told specifically that he is going to signal the end of this world. I really like this book quite a bit. If you are interested in getting into Hellboy, but you don't really know where to start, or maybe you've read some of the stuff that's set in the present day and you want to see what else there is to see, I really like this book quite a bit. I think that this has some really good stuff in it. This might be one of my favorite Hellboy stories out there. I really like this story, and that's about all that I have to say. Hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.